Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Freeman Files here on the J-Free 906 podcast channel. Mike Owen and our very special guest, Kaleb Bench, is with us here tonight. How you doing, guys?
Good.
Doing well.
I mean, if I could speak, yeah.
I get that one more than you think, actually. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Hey, thank you, folks, for being here with us tonight. We really appreciate it. We are going to be discussing Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, Season 6, Episode number 4, Bursting the Bubble. Another awesome episode. Mike, what do you think? I mean, it's been great this whole season.
It's amazing how you guys keep telling us it's just going to get crazier and crazier. And every season it gets crazier and crazier. I'm like, what? I don't know how you this. Yeah. And we're only a few episodes in.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long season.
Yeah. I can't imagine. I don't know. You know, I know that strange things happen on the ranch all the time, not just when, you know, they're filming and you're going through your exercises, which I know that as you guys often have used the term before, kicking the hornet's nest often creates more craziness to happen during that time. But I mean, it would be almost, you and I have talked about this before, Kaleb. We've kind of discussed this before, but just simply being on the ranch on a regular basis has got to be a little unnerving at times, you know. And I don't know. I mean, as much as I'd love to be there, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of crazy.
You know, it is one of those things that I'm so used to it now. It really takes a lot for me to start going or questioning, right? Or having that feeling of I'm uncomfortable or getting freaked out a little bit. The last time that I actually really had that was when the calf got microwaved in front of us, right? That was the one time that I really took that step back going, oh man, is this really worth it? Because none of our equipment picked any of that. There was no warning, nothing. It just happened.
Yeah.
You know, so that was something. When something like that happens, that's when you really start thinking about things, right?
Yeah. When another living organism is affected in such a way, that would freak me out too. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I agree. Well, folks, I tell you what, thank you for being here again with us tonight. We do appreciate that. If you haven't already, as I would say, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you like the content of the show we do for you here tonight, as AO said there, smash that like button for us. We appreciate that again very much. And if you'd like to help support the show, there's many ways you can do that. There, Linda put one up there for us on the bottom of the screen. You can see that roll by. And we will get your comments and questions if you have them as we go along. We are going to be discussing this entire episode from start to finish. And thank you again, Kaleb, for joining us. It's really nice to have you here because you give us that perspective in all of this that we just, you know, I speculate a lot. Everybody knows that. Everybody understands that I do a lot of speculation. But in many ways, as Eric said last week, that's kind of the name of the game sometimes, because you speculate about certain things and it gives you ideas that you didn't think of before to try something new. So it kind of works out that way. Real quick, too, I wanted to say, for those of you who are into the Curse of Oak Island, tomorrow night we have special guest Vanessa Lucido from Rock Equipment Company. Vanessa's going to be here with us. We're going to have about an hour with her, and we're going to talk all about last season with her, season 12, and the previous times or seasons that she's been on the show. It's going to be a lot of fun. So join us if you're into that sort of thing. If you like the Curse of Oak Island, please consider joining us for that. 7:30 tomorrow night, same time, same channel, right here at the J-Free 906 podcast. So, all right. Without further ado, let's get started with this. So, one of the things about this particular episode, and I was glad because so many people have reached out to us and have asked the question, hey, what about that? What about that wolf bone? What about that thing that corpse they found in the river or in the creek, Dry Gulch Creek? Say that 6 times.
Say that 10 times fast, right?
I've screwed that up already. But yeah, so, and here finally we get the opportunity to get more of that information. And that's why I made the thumbnail for tonight's show the way I did, because yeah, this was something that really, really got us. But before we get to that, the show started off again over at the Mesa drill site. And this is going to be another spot where I know Eric and Thomas and all of you guys have had just kind of banging your head against the wall, trying to figure out how in the heck, first of all, can we get this borehole drilled up through the mesa and get it to come out through the top? And then you had the issue of trying to drag the reamer back down there to make the hole bigger, and kind of gave up on that whole idea now, I guess, right?
Yeah. So drilling again is the process, right? And these guys came out day one. We knew drilling was going to be one of our main focuses, just because of what we're getting, the information and all that data that we're getting out of that. And it's one of those things that when you really look at the mesa itself and this object that's in there, look at all that we're learning about it. That's one of the real big takeaways. And I know that people are really antsy now, especially wanting, we're seeing more comments just below the mesa, really get in there now. But one of those things is really look at all this data that we're getting. And that's really the treasure trove. Because if we had just gone in there year one and blown it up, and whatever's in there, we find it, right? But then we're missing all this other data that we've got in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But yeah, drilling, oh man, let's just say we had really high hopes and a lot of really high morale at the beginning. You're going to start seeing that process of how degraded that gets because of all this stuff that happens. And yeah, that drill hole, they should have just been able to ream that back and make that drill hole, another 8 to 12 inches.
Yeah.
Because the idea was, we don't know later down the road how big of equipment we might want to run up and down that.
Right.
And if we crack into there and start making bigger holes and stuff, that also might be an avenue to get other equipment that we might not even think from the top to the bottom without having to run around.
Right.
So there's a lot of potential with these drill holes that we're shooting for. But yeah, they haven't even got to drill hole 2 yet. So
yeah,
all the stuff that has happened. And so drilling, they were out there from day one until we were done with the process. So, and a lot happened between both of those drill holes. So you guys are just barely getting the the beginning of it. So, and there's a lot of really cool stuff that happened. And so
I just have a ton of respect for those guys for being able to maintain their professionalism, because I just started throwing stuff and banging on things and breaking stuff after all. I mean, it was just like it's like, even if a rod breaks, you're like, oh, broke a rod, pull it back.
Yeah.
It's just like, just go, just keep going.
Batteries die.
Yeah, batteries die. Stuff's not linking up. They just take it in stride and they just keep going. I mean, it's testament to their skill set and their mindset too.
Yeah,
stay in the game.
And you guys are going to finally see that breaking point.
Oh, okay. Oh my goodness. Well, we know there was sometimes that History Channel will throw out these promos for the entire season. Yeah. And I saw one picture where it looked like there was, because there's that little, and pardon me, because I've forgotten the name of it, but where they go in, and then there's like the spoil hole where they go through that, where all the water and stuff comes back in. But there was a shot, if I remember correctly, there was a shot looking down the line. You could see several of those holes. And I thought, oh my gosh, yeah. And I thought, oh, how many attempts are they making at trying to get up through there with the second borehole? But
yeah,
I know we can't talk
more to
about
come.
All that yet.
More to come. Stay tuned.
I've already seen it. Stay tuned. Yep. Yeah. But yeah, so this last one, when you see them coming back in that reamer, I know there's a little bit more that's good. Why we can't keep going with that big reamer. And you're going to see the beginning of this exit, or not exodus, this this journey, if you will, this This odyssey, that's the word I'm looking for, this odyssey of drilling that occurred last year.
Yep.
But again, all the crazy data and the things that we start connecting, and it's just too much. Like, I know you guys have heard us the last year saying like we're still scratching our heads, and there's stuff that I'm like, we don't know how to explain that.
Wow. I can't wait to start getting some of the data. That was the big thing, getting this, because I know that the big thing was to get the holes, 2 lines drilled up through there, 2 bore holes put up through, and then getting them coated with some sort of a lining that they put in there that hardens and keeps it from collapsing, and then start getting some electronics in there so that they can start letting the electronics talk to each other. Because we want to know, just like everyone else, we want to know what in the heck is in that mesa that Jan Frankie's GPS data, or ground penetrating radar picked up. These anomalies that are down there, we can't wait to start getting some data on this. And so hopefully that won't be too long. We'll actually get some of that data this year, but stay tuned. Stay tuned for more to come on it.
Yes.
So that was the end of that. They decided they couldn't get the reamer to come back in there. It was like 11.5 or 11 inches or whatever. Couldn't get that through there. Then they tried to go to a smaller one. It was having difficult getting through there. Inches an hour is what Thomas said.
Yes.
And so they said, you know what? Hey, we got this thing that's 7 or 8 inches now. I guess somewhere around that size. He said, this should be big enough. Let's just go with it. Get it lined so we can start on hole number 2 before we get to the end of the season. So, so we'll see what happens if they begin getting that thing lined up, because this episode last night, that's where they walked away from right there, saying, okay, give up on it. Let's get it lined. And he said, a day or 2 to get it lined. I'm like, yeah, that probably won't happen with all the other troubles they've had, but we'll see.
Yeah, you're catching on the pattern of what usually happens out here. And it was kind of funny because they haven't really shown it yet, but Alex, when he was out there the year before, he was so confident, we'll be in and out with this.
Yeah,
in like 2
I remember that.
Day 1, he was already going, we'll just see where we get to.
he walked back pretty quick.
He wasn't as we'll be able to do this in 2 to 3 days, right? He came back on his confidence level on giving us an exact time when we should expect to be done with something. So
good, man. Yeah, he's learned.
Skinwalker calibration.
Yes. The Skinwalker timeline is not like any other timeline. So as we have come to find out. So, all right. Well, hopefully we'll get to see more in the coming weeks. And as you have alluded to, there will be a lot more coming. So, all right.
Yes.
So let's continue on, because I know your time is limited tonight. So I want to try to get as much, I hate to say it like this, but I want to get as much out of you as we can in the time we have, because you're not at home, and I understand that. So we'll do the best we can here. So let's push on. The next little slide here that I have is going over to the command center, which is what they did next. Got Brandon on the screen there, along with Ben Woodruff and all of you guys there in the at the table. And you love seeing these things in the cases here behind Brandon.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Terminator standing there with the machine guns and all this kind of stuff is always pretty cool to see. But
I can't remember which horror movie the clown's from, but Brandon's actually pretty proud of that one. So
I couldn't.
Poltergeist?
I think it was Poltergeist.
That sounds right. Poltergeist, yeah.
I couldn't do it. I mean, he works in there late at night. So when we see the chips and salsa from the insiders group, which I want to tout that real quick, because many of the folks that are watching here tonight are insiders already. And I wanted to ask real quick, Michelle, see Michelle Stratton is out there, and I wanted to ask, the poltergeist come. Yeah, yikes. Michelle Stratton, and hi, by the way, Jim, Taco Jim. I wanted to ask Michelle or any of the insiders, is the Q&A, is it going to be one this week, and is it tomorrow night or is it tonight?
Yes.
So that'll let us know if we have to hurry up and get out of here by 9 o'clock.
It's tomorrow.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yep.
So Ben, was great to see that. I mean, when I saw the preview of Ben coming on, I thought, oh my gosh, great. Finally, we get him in there. And it flashed back from last season when you guys found that wolf corpse in the river. I mean, first of all, that had been kind of freaky. And there you guys are poking and prodding this thing. And then Travis goes in there and starts ripping the jawbone off of it and everything. And many people were saying at the time, it's like, man, I wish they could just bag the whole body and haul it out of there. But at least you got that jawbone. There's a close up. That's a freaky looking thing right there. I mean,
I'll never forget when that thing popped out of the water the first time, and they lowered it down a second time, and it came up, and the jaw finally like popped out, and this big old nasty tongue just flops out.
I'm surprised they showed as much as they did.
I am too.
Yeah, that thing was so nasty, so rank. And, it is that hindsight. At that time, we were thinking this was just, at this point, when we're pulling it out like this, we were thinking this carcass was just a big dog or a coyote or something, right? We weren't thinking that this potentially rewrites the fossil record, And then, as we get into this a little bit with the DNA testing and stuff, it's all, I think it's pointing to that this is something that potentially has more prehistoric, or we don't know what the hell's running around out here.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And it was really cool. I mean, here's a shot of the jawbone and the jawbone of the young dire wolf that is very, very old. Obviously, you can tell by looking at it. And how they match up so closely. And it was really cool to see, because so many of us wanted to see the data on this. We've been clamoring for it ever since we saw this originally show up. And then one of the flashbacks, I went back and was watching the episode where you guys found this thing again today, and seeing that there was also a spot where he had come out and looked at a carcass, and there was a rib that had a bite hole, like a canine, a tooth through, and what it would take to do that. And I remember they talking about that episode and trying to make that happen with teeth, and they were just falling up. They were crunching. They wouldn't go through it. That's amazing. That really.
And if I remember right, the only teeth or skull that could handle the pressures to do that was a dire wolf. And because Ben's background working for one of these museums was to actually reconstruct these fossilized skeletons of these animals. And so he's played with who knows how many dire wolf skeletons and stuff. So when he saw that jawbone the initial time, he told us, so this was almost 2 years ago now, if you had come to me and I had no previous information and you handed me this jawbone and asked me what it was, my initial reaction would be, it's a juvenile dire wolf without question.
Yeah.
And at one point, he's also,
it is,
before one of these conversations that we recorded, I want to say it was after he did the first analysis 2 years ago, he said, I don't even want to tell you guys what this is because it's crazy.
Yeah. You're not going to believe this.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I don't even want to believe it. So, but he's sitting there holding that jawbone and going, yeah, this is the only thing it could be. If you look at the physical evidence.
Right.
So, and I know all last year we were getting hounded about what you're seeing right now with the DNA and all that. And so this was quite the conversation itself.
I'll bet. Yeah. And this right here is what kind of blew me away. We know that right off the bat, Ben started talking about, and actually Brandon, he said he engaged Colossal Biosciences, the leading genetic and life sciences company on the planet, which blows me away right there. Colossal ran the DNA against other known species of canine, which include wolves, coyotes, and foxes and whatnot. 11%, as you see on the graph right here, 11% comes back as Canis lupus, the modern day gray wolf, specifically Eurasian and Greenland gray wolf. Now, he also mentioned that one of the important points about this was that they're not from North America at all.
The The two wolves that
Yeah, the two wolves.
Yep.
And they
I
don't
wish
cross
they'd
over.
have spent a little bit more time on some of this because I'm trying to remember a little bit because I've actually seen one of the graph where it really breaks down a little bit more of that, showing you how much of that they're seeing with the Eurasian and the European and the Greenland wolf, because they had the list with all these different canine species and the amount of DNA that they could match into that in that 11%.
I love this.
And that's where it was really interesting because the top two with the most relatable DNA are that Greenland and Eurasian wolves, which again, they're not here. They're not in the North American continent. So how are we getting this?
Exactly.
Right. And that's where I do have to admit, like, I don't know if you go and shoot, say, a gray wolf that is out running around here now and take its DNA, are you going to see the similar type of results? I don't know that, and so, but the big thing that I remember where I kind of got really excited was the year before when they were talking about doing the DNA process. So this would be 2 years ago. My understanding was they're going to take this DNA, line it up, and test it against all the known species that we have DNA for and see what comes of it. And if it's a dire wolf, my understanding was if there's any relatable DNA, it'll show that. But if it's unknown, that's where it gets exciting.
Yep.
And so when you're seeing 89% of this as unknown, there's a couple other things there. Yes. Was the DNA too damaged from the state where we found it?
Right.
Because I know that they took one of those teeth and that's where they got the DNA from that jawbone from one of the teeth on the jawbone itself that we found. That was with the teeth and the DNA that's inside the teeth. It's the most protected spot. That's usually like law enforcement and all these other areas. If we can get teeth, that's what we're going to get because that's the most protected spot for DNA.
Yep. Yeah. The teeth are going to take longer to break down than anything else in the body. Yep.
Yep. And so seeing 89% of this as an unknown, to me, that's what was exciting.
Yeah, for sure. It is. And and like you said, we've all been waiting to hear about this and have this information come back. And then he talked about again, how it matches, that dire wolf bone that he had, the jawbone that he had, it matches it, perfectly. And so, I mean, how much more do we need? I mean, if you could have matched it exactly, but it's on, I don't know. I don't think you could get anything better from all of that than
that's one of our big conversations at that table. I can tell you that conversation was a lot longer than what they showed, obviously.
Oh yeah, I would imagine.
Always.
Yeah, and that's like Jim's question over here that just popped up about how long can you find DNA in fossils, right? And I know that there have been finds in Russia the last couple of years. There's been a lot more finds of used to be frozen mammoths and woolly rhinos. Like that was one that I saw a story a couple months ago, a full intact woolly rhino that finally thawed out and was found.
Yep.
And so I don't know if there's been dire wolves or these other animals, because my understanding was Colossal, I believe, says they had 2 dire wolf samples that they can go against. Wow. I don't know how you can verify that, but that's what information I was told through Eric, who was dealing and having a more close interaction with Colossus when they were, I can't remember, Colossus, when they were actually going through and doing these tests and talking about them. So that was my understanding, is that they did have 2 samples that they could try to put this up against, but some of those questions are, what's the level of of degradation that those samples might have. Are they really viable to actually be able to do anything with? I don't know.
Yeah. Wow. More research on our part needs to be done, I think, and I may try to look into that a little bit too. But wow, I mean, it's pretty amazing, and I'm so glad that we finally got that. I really am, that we finally got that data.
Well, and let's not overlook the fact that, Caleb, as you have said in the past, look at the totality of circumstance here. What are the odds that an 89% unknown creature shows up on Skinwalker Ranch and happens to be within the bubble?
Yeah.
I mean, what are the odds of that?
Yeah,
it's not just finding that any place would be incredible,
right?
But it shows up on Skinwalker Ranch, really?
Of all
That's
places.
crazy. Of all places,
Mm-hmm.
where there's been talk of even crazier things happening in the past.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's just that it even adds to the jaw-dropping nature of 89% unknown, and the whole coming back as a known animal, but not anything that's even on the continent. Jeff and I talk about other cryptids, and when there's DNA done, the same thing happens. If they ever get something good, it comes back as weird stuff. From other parts of the world that have no business being where they are. Just seems like there's something with the DNA testing that it doesn't know what else to do, so it picks the closest thing, and maybe it's not really even that close. I don't know. Not into DNA stuff.
That's one of the things I learned about DNA testing is you have to have other samples that are known that it came from this test subject or whatever, and that's what you're testing it against. And so again, that's where I got excited when I see 89% of this is unknown, because then what is it? And that raises some of those other questions of, okay, is it because it was the sample we have was degraded also, or how much of it was damaged? And is that why it's given us an unknown? But from my understanding, they just didn't know what that other 89% was. Couldn't tell us.
And as John Nyberger and Jim both mentioned, I mean, it's that unknown stuff, and they do it happens the same thing with the Bigfoot DNA, that they assume it's Bigfoot DNA or hope it's Bigfoot DNA, and it comes back the same kind of thing, undetermined, because they don't have anything to put it up against. So
that we don't have a 100% verified source of what it can be.
A standard. There's got to be a standard to bounce it against.
And without that.
I can tell you again, when we went out there to replace some of these cameras, after the discussion, Rich and Ben and I went out and replaced some of these cameras. There's some more stuff that is coming this year that we found. So,
well, that was one of the next sections here, and we're going to jump back because there's some other questions I have about this. But Rich Howell from Trail Cam Pro was out. And you guys went out with Ben. There you are, and you guys went out and you placed a couple of these. One, I guess, was put right there where you found the body.
If Rich took 2 steps back there, he'd fall about 20 feet down in the river and be right where we found it. So
wow, see, which is that's but again, a great place to put that. And then also you put one, and is this on the south fence area south there?
Yeah. So this is actually very much south of the bubble itself. And this overlooks a really wide area. And if you actually go back to the previous picture there, I'll also show you in the back here, you can actually see this little trail on the opposite bank there. That's why we're putting that there, is we know that there's a lot of animal traffic going through there. So it makes a lot of sense of why we're finding this potential carcass in that particular spot too. And all along a lot of these areas in Dry Gulch, we can see these pathways. And so that's where we're going and putting a lot of these cameras to see if we have a higher chance of seeing whatever's running around down there. So
from the sounds of things, it's like cameras, stay tuned, because there will be more.
I'm gonna have some cups made with that finally this year. So
Stay tuned.
yeah.
Yeah, you should sell those T-shirts. Like, at Phenomenon this year, you could sell that T-shirt. Hey, stay tuned. Have it on.
Phenomenon and the cruise that's coming up. So
Yeah. I did want to jump back just a little bit on this because it became one of those types of questions when they got to talking with Maddie Blake and the Behind the Gates. There was some questions brought up or some things brought up with that made me kind of sit up and pay attention to, and which also had me go back and look at season 5. And one of them was this: when you guys first put in, when you found that the body, the wolf body in the creek, when you first put into,
Sorry, that was me.
Oh yeah, no. Let's have the other one first, and then well, actually, let's go with that. Let's go with that right there. This is really cool because where you guys first went in, it showed it being the GPS. I remember Thomas called to Eric and said, "Hey, we're just gotten in the water. We're just getting started here." And Eric said, "Well, that's really funny because it shows you 5,000 feet underground right now, the GPS data." And I was thinking, was that inside of today's bubble area? And also, and I'm going to click through. Well, and so, and we've got, Mike had brought up this map here, and he's shown that, I don't know where you guys put in, but in that swirly area on this map, it looks like it is within the bubble area.
That's
okay, so
2,000 feet, right about there.
Okay, so that point that you're hitting with that 2,000 feet right there, I'd have to go look and see, but that is very close to where we're finding the bubble wall.
Wow.
So if that's where the data is showing us going down, it would be right on the bubble wall. But we actually put down kind of on that really straight part of the river right there, just to the south of it.
Oh, okay.
So you can maybe see what we call the hanging tree because it's the one with all the roots that's like half hanging out. Looks like it's going to be coming down. So very close. Come to your right a little bit more. It's that really short section. Really short.
Okay. Yeah.
You can actually kind of see our trail where our vehicles kind of turn around up right there. So yeah, right where your cursor at is where we put in. So you're no more than 100 yards from it.
Right.
And that's where one of the questions is does the bubble boundary expand and move out at times, or is it consistent? And so, yeah, like right there, I slid down the right where your cursor's at. I slid down one of the ears to get into the river right there. And so, yeah, that's no more than 100,
200 feet, 200 feet from the 2,000 foot mark
from the boundary, which we know is could very well change, as Eric has talked about before. So the dire wolf was inside the bubble. Yes, I believe so.
Yep. So if you want to go back out, I'll try and direct you there. So you can kind of see this big bend in the river at the very top, where it says Dry Gulch Creek. If you come around that to the that side right there, and come right down, right where that turn is in the river, that's right where the dire wolf was found. Right in there.
Oh, wow. So that's well within the bubble.
Well within.
Yes.
Yep.
Wow.
And then like the burnt post or the burnt tree and all that other stuff happened up on top of that top curve in the river there, that big bend right by where it says Dry Gulch Creek. A bunch of the weird stuff happened right in there.
Yeah. See, and that is key. And that's something that I caught when they were talking about that on the Behind the Gates. That was nuts because you had the and let me take over here for just a moment, if you would. Yep. And so we had the 5,000 feet underground that was marked out, and there's a little squiggly of the creek. But you also had this and that light anomaly that was picked up on the helicopter, I believe it was.
Yes.
And I got just this little video of showing it. This is back when it aired. This was last season again.
Yeah.
and it's gonna go dark. I'm gonna play it one more time here. This was crazy. And I was like, at first I thought, oh, maybe it's a guy with a flashlight, but you guys were like, no, there's nobody over there with a flashlight.
There was nobody down there. And if you really look at where that's at and line it up with the river, that's right in the water. You tell me if someone's running around in there that fast.
No.
And I can tell you how deep that part of the river is too. There's a part of that where it's over 6-7 feet. So
okay, so nobody's gonna be running around down there. Yeah.
No, and good luck trying to run around in that mud. I've sunk up to my waist in that nastiness, and it's not fun. Yeah. It's when you pull your foot up, it stinks. It's something nasty. And it brings up this black nasty mud, and you're not running in that.
Yeah. Well, we get to see you guys go back in there next week. We'll talk about that at the end of the show.
Yes, you do.
But, so some of the other things, that purple light that Thomas saw last season, the orb that you and Dragon saw on the trail cam picture that showed up out there, that we talked extensively about that thing, was in that area. The burnt post was in that area. The carcass was in that area.
So a lot of this stuff that you're seeing with the orb and everything, that's actually further south still.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Wow.
So that's all outside of the bubble.
It is outside the bubble. Okay. Yeah. All right. It's crazy.
But yes, still in that same area.
Yep. That's and they talk about, going back to the dire wolf real quick too. I made a note here because in the 1990s, the Sherman family had talked about that issue. They said about there was what they called a really, really big wolf. They called it a dire wolf. I don't know if they called it a dire wolf at that time, but it was mentioned on the show as a dire wolf. Yeah. But they followed it. They chased it all the way down to the creek, and then it disappeared at the creek.
Yeah, and I can tell you can ask Pete about this too, is Pete found some massive wolf tracks over by the triangle a couple years ago, and came back all white-faced and going, and show me a picture of them. And I'm going, gosh dang it, Pete, now I got to go down there and make sure I don't have this thing walking around down there, So I go and follow these tracks along that fence line from the triangle all the way down to Dry Gulch. And that's where they disappeared, was down in that area.
See, that's crazy. Here's a question from Kat. Do you ever get a physical something as you pass through this wall, this boundary?
So
do you ever feel anything weird?
Physically, I don't think the only ones that I can think of that have had a physical, actual potential reaction to something going on with the bubble is the story with Jay Stratton going years ago over by Homestead 2.
Yep.
And then one of the things that's kind of been an aha light bulb for a lot of us is we've had multiple people who have had radios on in vehicles as they're driving up the lane to the command center or over by Homestead 2. They've noticed at times where you can hear the fluctuation in the frequencies in the radio you cross certain areas. And you're going to see where we do kind of mark the barrier itself, the possible area where we think this is at, probably coming up in another episode, and you'll see how we mark those.
Yeah, I remember that when Jay was out there and they were walking out on the road. They went out in the vehicle, they got out and they were walking on the road, and he talked about that at that tree. There was a tree there, and he was reflecting back when he was in there in the Bigelow times, and he was walking along, and he said at that point there, they were just like, okay, nobody wanted to go further. It was just something. So does it mess with you? I think it does.
Hey, Jeff, can I share?
Yes. Oops. Sorry. Go ahead. Let me get mine off there. Go ahead. There you go.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. There it is.
There's the tree, and there's 2,000 foot mark. If you measure over from the center of the triangle, that's the tree. And that's Homestead 2 right there.
Yeah. Yep. And that's what Michelle is saying right here. She just brought that up. I almost mentioned Jay and the guys having the event at the tree and do not cross situation. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's nuts.
Messed up your layout. There you
No,
go.
you're
Jeff.
good. You're fine.
Sorry.
I just had to click on it. But yeah, so I mean, and that's this whole bubble thing, and we've talked about this pretty extensively last week with Eric and Pete. There is, and I think Thomas mentioned it on the behind the gates, talking about this area that we're calling the bubble is too much data has now been gathered to simply say, okay, it's just a weird anomaly and there's nothing to it. Too much data has been gathered now to say that there is something there. There is this boundary, this bubble, this dome, whatever you want to call it, that we now know goes underground as well because of Pete's, you and Pete working with the terrestrial laser scanner, picking this thing up. It's mind blowing. It really, truly is mind blowing to me, anyway.
Oh yeah, and you're gonna see more data stacked up.
Stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. But that's been, I think, one of the really cool parts of this, and what we're doing is season 6. You're seeing years worth of data compiling into hard evidence of what we're dealing with. And the bubble really is manifesting at this point.
Yeah.
Because I want to say it was season 4 and season 5 where we were really showing these GPS coordinates going through areas right there by the command center with every drone. And, just from the last couple of years, we're starting to go, wait a minute, especially with this 2,000 foot mark.
Yep.
And you're going to see some of these puzzle pieces coming together to really solidify that this bubble's there.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah. I don't think there's any dispute on that now.
Yeah.
And it only gets crazier.
Yeah.
The amount of repeatability of the data too.
Yes. The repeatability.
To show that there's always interference within the bubble. That's crazy.
I do want to just say real quick, I'm running low on battery and time wise, but there's 2 things that I want to jump to, Jeff, if that's all right. Because I know
please
go. 2 things that really stuck out for me during the rocket launch experiment was the LiDAR with the rocket misaligned.
Yes.
Where with the terrestrial laser scanner, that was freaking nuts. That was so cool seeing that live. Yep, that one. How do you explain that?
I don't know. This is one of those things. And folks, what we're looking at here, if you haven't seen this on the show last night, they launched the rockets on this tower right here. On this tower. This is where the rockets are launched, right here on this tower.
Yep.
This is the smoke trail that was picked up by the LiDAR 10, 12 feet away from it.
Yeah. Both Pete and I were sitting there for like 5 minutes going, no, no. Right. And that was actually one of the things that we kind of realized after the initial thing, because we were kind of looking over here above the power line, that's over here in the corner too, because we were seeing a little bit of these returns up there in the air also.
Yeah, right here.
And that's what we were drawing a little bit of our attention to. And then we really got to looking at that and going, wait a minute, this isn't right with the tower itself and this, because we have other scans where you can see where the plume of the rocket's going up and it's right on the tower.
And this isn't like photogrammetry where it's using GPS to locate the pictures.
Right.
It's actually showing what it saw.
Yes.
You can't move the reflection of the laser 10 feet over consistently. No. The whole stream.
And it's not like the wind has blown or a breeze or whatever, the smoke's drifted over, because by then, if it's that far away, it's snake. The smoke is snaking up at that point. This is right as that thing's gone up.
Right.
So that's that one is probably one of the more exciting ones for me. And then seeing that live. And then what I was also going to point out, because it kind of what we were talking about with the bubble boundary, is where Jim's drone, where you see it's going and then that camera freezes. And if you look down in the other corner, you can see where his secondary camera is, and it's still showing a good live picture. And if you go watch the episode, you can see it bouncing around and whatnot.
Yep.
But you can see it's coming up on that boundary, and then in this area where we found that dire wolf.
You can't make this up. You know?
No.
You can't make this up. I mean, and we saw, as the drone got over there, then boom, remote controller signal is weak. And I was a little confused on this. And I was talking about this with Mike before the show started, was that he was flying from inside the bubble, heading towards the wall.
Yes.
On the southern border, and could not get past the wall, right?
No. And I want to say that night when that drone did that, all the lights cut out, so we couldn't see it.
Wow.
I want to say that, but it happened multiple times. So I just gave you a little nugget there. But
nice.
Yeah, you're going to see us really lining this out over the next couple experiments.
This is crazy. I mean, and something too I wanted to mention, before you go, was also the fact that, and this was in the behind the gates, that Thomas had said, you guys were discussing the whole thing with the boundary and the bubble itself, and something was mentioned about the bubble to say, rather than being something that was trying to like a shield or whatever to keep things out, it was actually trying to, another way to look at it would be something to try and keep the it from being targeted, throwing off anything that would be targeting that area, throw it off in such a way that you cannot get a direct lock on anything inside that area. So Thomas was like, that would mean that there's something really important it's trying to protect in that area.
Yeah. And one of the conversations I distinctly remember is we started going to, is this a defense mechanism? Right. And I can't remember at what point we start using that a little bit more, but you are going to see some more stuff.
Wow.
Again, it only gets more crazy. Especially in that area, the southern area over by Homestead 2. I'm so excited that this is coming out now. And that's one of the things that always sucks is we're sitting here for a year.
You can't talk about it.
We can't talk
That's
about
brutal.
it.
That's brutal.
Yeah. And like the direwolf conversation, because, we're getting hounded we've been hounded for DNA stuff for 2 years, and we just had to wait.
Yeah.
So that's one that I'm like, just remember you guys are seeing this. But compared to other scientific endeavors that go for 10 years, before they release anything, you guys are getting information pretty quick.
Yeah. Another example of that is Bigfoot. I mean, we Mike and I covered the Bigfoot Expedition Bigfoot shows, and there's a lot of data that they collected throughout the season that we still have not heard any conclusion on from even last season, the season before this one that just ended. I mean, it's
and, it's one of I think there's a couple incidents or parts of the investigation that happened a couple years ago where I think they might be trying to bring those in now because the information's really relevant more because of what happened.
Right.
Because we're going with some of the stuff with the bubble, we're going, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You remember like 5 years ago when we did this and we were going, what the heck? This doesn't mean anything. This is just weird. Now we're going, wait.
Yeah.
Yep.
That might be this indication now. So I think we're getting to this point where there's more of this stuff from the past that we're going, wait a minute, this ties in here now.
Yep.
Yeah, we were talking about when you guys threw the bottles out of the helicopter, or even the medicine balls.
Yeah,
I mean,
medicine balls.
It all went around or outside of the bubble. The bubble would not let them go down through that into the triangle.
That's where I'm going to have to leave you too. Just wait.
Stay tuned. Great.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You're killing us.
This is what I love though is when we're doing our reviews like tomorrow night and our chips and salsa and stuff, you guys are on it. Like the fans and the people that really make this worth doing it, you guys all come up with things like that. And we're like, oh my gosh, like you're on the same track that we were, and start thinking about the same things that we were thinking, and more information comes and we're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it does. Cause it makes me, when I see something, go, wait a minute, didn't they do something, and then I go back, cause I can go back and watch any of the old episodes, and I do. And I did that today. And it's like, oh my gosh, how relevant was that? And you did not know at that time.
Oh yeah.
There was dealing with some sort of a bubble that, and
Yep.
you're throwing your medicine ball out there. I guess the one you've still never found it.
I will say we have not found that yet. I think it's still sitting in the aliens' living room.
Yeah, right.
It's got what is that? It's fun to play with.
All right. But I will say, with the data from years ago with the bottles that we threw out of the helicopter, a lot of that becomes really, really relevant with some of our future finds and experiments that we're doing, and it's really cool. So, and especially with the data from the rockets with the cake system on it too. So
wow, I can't wait.
Yeah, but I got to get going here.
Okay.
So
thank you so much for coming on. I know you said, hey, I can come on next week or whatever. There's always a seat at this table for you. Always. Just know that.
It's a big seat.
Any episode.
So
yeah. Well, thanks, Jeff. Thanks for the invite. Thanks for the conversation and everything. I hope I helped shed some light on some of what we're dealing with here.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kaleb. I really appreciate it, sir.
I got to get going here. So thanks.
All right. Good night.
Bye.
Well, that, I tell you what, folks, I mean, we just can't ask for anything more. And I know he had he explained what he had going on before. So time was limited, but he will be back. He said, I'll join you next week, the week after, whatever you need. And I said, yeah, all of them. How about that? And we know Thomas, we've talked to Thomas too, and Thomas would love to come and join us as well. So we'll get some more guys on here with us from the show. Let's jump back for a minute as we can here. And I wanted to, I wanted, there was a couple of questions that I wanted to ask him, but we'll get him next time on some of these. But this was when they were starting to get their experiment all set up in the triangle, going to, and I grabbed this particular screenshot because you know how much that Eric and Travis are always looking for these signals coming in. They used to talk about the 1.6 gigahertz signal all the time, and then they were starting to get it back at them all the time when they were not transmitting it. And then the 1.2, we talked about this pretty extensively last week, the 1.2 gigahertz signal that, now that one was just a thought, let's go use this one. And now it is becoming one that is popping up all the time, and it never did before. But you can look here, you can see the different antennas in this picture. Here's several on this table. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 different antennas here. There's another set up over here.
Yep.
So are they always looking for these? Yes. Anytime they're doing an experiment. And the crazy thing is that they're showing up just as they're getting started. It won't be there when they're setting up all during the day, because it takes a while to set this stuff up. They're watching for that. Nothing. And then all of a sudden, right when they start doing something, boom, here come these signals.
And it happens on a regular basis, repeatedly. Yes. Just the repeatability of even that is pretty telling.
Absolutely. So they got the guys from Lock Precision coming out. There's Alan. Here's a Mike and Jay coming out that are helping them with this. And these guys are experts, like Travis, I guess, would be with shooting rockets. And this was a neat piece of equipment right here that we're gonna talk about just a minute, because they were talking about Kate, I was just reading some of the chat here about the Running Man. Yeah. The Kate, and I was like, and I had to go back and listen to it a few times to find out what was that word they're using? Kate.
Yeah.
And here's that picture of it in his hand. And here's another shot. This is the receiver side of it, of the system. But I'm going to let engineer Mike kind of take over on this for a minute, because he did some extensive research on this, looking into this unit. Let me get mine off. There we go. And we'll get yours on there. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. All right. So Multitronics, right?
Yes, Multitronics. And Kate is Kate. And I struggled with that too. I couldn't hear if they were saying Cape with a P or exactly what they meant, but it is Kate, like the name, woman's name. And essentially it's a specifically made for tracking rockets. And you can see no license fee required. I don't know if I can zoom in a little bit on that. Nope. Not going to do it over there. Sorry. There we go.
Oh, there it goes.
And if you go to this web page, and it's just Multitronics, the name up here.com, they actually have some video of a rocket going over 400,000 feet into the air.
Wow.
And the other feature that it has is that it speaks. It's a female voice, Kate is, and calls out the telemetry information, the altitude and speed. They've got some recordings down here. And if you go to this link here, it'll take you to a web page with some YouTube videos that actually shows this rocket launch. It's pretty sophisticated tracking telemetry radio tracker for doing just what they're doing, shooting big rockets up a really long ways.
Yeah. Now, one of the things about this that I thought was really, we know that many of the GPS units that go into these rockets and stuff are ones that either Eric has obtained or Eric has created. He has made some of these on his own. So, and so anybody that has any question in their mind about, well, he made it, maybe he didn't make it correctly, maybe it's, faulty or whatever, which I don't believe that Eric would make one that's faulty, but I've heard people saying that, and so, okay. So, and you've seen the problems that he has had with some of those in the past. This one is commercially made, tested up to over 400,000 feet.
Yep. Said it went to 550 downlink radio range.
Yeah. Look at that.
So 100 miles up.
100 miles. And it was flawless. It worked like a charm.
Yep.
Except at the ranch.
Yeah. Well, it's always getting skinwalkered.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, we got, let's bring these back up. Okay. So you got Pete out there. Pete's getting ready, and I love seeing Pete out there, of course, doing his thing. As they're getting started, now they got a different one, a 550 coming up, gigahertz signal coming up, and starting to give them a lot of, it's a new one to watch now. That was pretty interesting to see that when they had not seen it before coming up, and they fire up their first rocket. Now, this first one that went up, it had chalk powder on board. And I grabbed this shot here because you can see, I don't know if that's Pete's
almost hit the drone.
Yeah. I don't know if that's Pete's drone or if that's Roy's drone.
That was close.
Jim Royston's drone. But yeah, if you don't mind it getting shot down by a rocket, go ahead and just fly it right there next to the path.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whatever.
Live dangerously.
It did work the way it was designed to work. It deployed its chute. And it also deployed the payload of the chalk.
And by the way, the chalk, they have tried this before. And we had asked early on, why don't you guys do something like chalk and, see if it would scatter down and cover something, kind of, expose the invisible man kind of thing. They tried that. That was the really big rocket that exploded on the launch pad. It had chalk in it. that was part of what they were going to try and do, and it blew up. What are the odds
What
that it
are
does
the
that?
odds? Yeah, and that one would have had a massive payload of chalk because it was a very big rocket. But you
It was a
remember, it
very
was,
big
you know,
rocket.
they counted it down, and Brandon hit the button, and it.
Yep.
So don't let Brandon. No, I'm sorry, no, I won't say that. But yeah, that one blew up on the launch pad, and so, and you go back to that thing, you know, that I mentioned earlier about this bubble area being something that is trying to thwart any sort of detection in this area. And boy, it does kind of seem like that's happening. This chalk, rather than dispersing the way they thought it would, was just kind of hanging there in one area. It didn't really disperse the way they thought it would. It wasn't very windy. They had mentioned that this particular day, which is good for shooting rockets, but you can see it just
Right.
basically coming, you know, slowly coming straight down instead of dispersing into a cloud.
And that rocket, when it popped its chute, it was going crazy.
Mhm,
It was spinning around and around and around,
mhm.
and the chalk did not move. It just sat
Yeah,
there, hung in the
yeah.
air.
How is
So
that possible?
I know everybody jumps on, oh, when a rocket gets stuck, it's just an updraft. Okay. It's an updraft that's perfectly balancing the weight of the rocket so that it doesn't fall.
Yeah.
And in this case, you can see there's clearly wind blowing the rocket around, or it's spinning, and yet chalk, that cloud stayed like that at least long enough that it
Mhm.
seemed odd
Yeah.
that it would not disperse further. It just kind of got to that point. I mean, why did it disperse to that much in the first place? And then stop. It's
Yeah.
like it started to disperse and then froze, and then maybe continuing on a little bit later.
Yeah. That's it's not performing to normal physics uh
No, no,
at all. And that's another key piece of data. It didn't do what you wanted it to, what you expected it to do, but still the result is data.
yeah,
Always data. So, and I love that term. I've heard Thomas say it. I've heard Eric say it. We mentioned it last week. Painting the invisible man. I love that term because that's exactly what they're trying to get around to as they go through these experiments. And lo and behold, the 1.6 gigahertz signal shows up right on cue when they're getting ready to shoot the big rocket in the air. And they also get the 1.2. I grabbed this picture here because you can see the terrestrial laser scanner sitting there that they've got. And remember when we talked about, showed that picture from the LiDAR, the terrestrial laser scanner, you see it sitting right there, looking at that tower that they're firing the rockets off from. And yet the smoke trail from that is 10 to 12 feet away from the tower to the right hand side of the
yep,
tower.
yep,
Now, the interesting thing about the first big rocket that went up was when the chute deployed, it was coming down at the regular pace that they thought it would. Um, let's see what Frank's saying here. Don't know if anyone noticed,
yeah.
but me noticed. But during the time that they were shooting rockets and all there was lightning storm very close. Yes, I did notice that, which
Behind
might have caused a higher winds. Yeah, it could have. Yeah,
behind
I suppose.
Travis, yeah, you could see lightning off the distance.
Yep, yep, I did see that. Yeah, it popped up a few times. I had a shot of it from last week's show that was pretty interesting. Um, but yeah, so here comes this thing that's coming down on its chute, and it's coming down at the pace they would expect it to. And then all of a sudden, when it gets to about 3,200 feet, I think it was, it all of a sudden pushes north over the mesa as if it was restricted from coming inside the bubble area with all of its electronics. Now, I really wish they would have had shown us the
Yeah,
GPS data as
yep,
it came down rather than just going up.
yep.
I would really love to have seen that. Maybe one day we can get Eric to share that with us because I know they have it, whether or not. But anyway, and then also as it got to that level, it started falling Like I think Travis had said free falling. It's free falling at this point.
Yep.
What does it say? The freedom fall. I wonder if they thought about just moving the launch 5 feet over to cover the spot. I don't know. Michelle says, from my understanding, the chalk stayed aloft for a few minutes, then floated down to the ground, but I'm not sure about where the bulk of it landed. Interesting. Mhm. And I agree with you. B. Jones says the insiders are very observant. Yes. And that's why I'm glad you guys are here too. Everybody, when I watch the show, I watch it several times, generally to prepare for the podcast. And I watch it the first time on Tuesday night just for fun. I don't make notes. I just watch the show and have a good time watching it. And then I start to scrutinize it a little bit better. And I'm always looking in the background, as I mentioned with Eric last week, because there's so much going on that they don't talk about that's happening in the background of these shots, such as the lightning and things like that. So, yeah, it's very
Especially
good.
in the command center.
In that command center. I just love that place. I had a few shots of the command center and I deleted them for tonight's pod. I thought, no, you guys have seen me talk about the
good stuff
too much. But yeah. So, but anyway, that thing was started to free fall and landed up on the mesa quite a ways away. Now, why would it not? As Travis said, it's designed to go straight up and come straight down. Why? Why did it not? And here's a shot looking back. This is the one that I wanted to ask Kaleb about, because as I'm here I am. I'm looking at those pictures. I'm looking at other things in the picture that are not talked about, and we see one. Right here. What in the heck is this?
A little like Oak Island over there.
Yeah, it's a big hole in the ground, it looks like, and piles of dirt all around it. What's going on over here? I was hoping that maybe Kaleb could say, well, stay tuned. I don't know what it is, but it's pretty interesting, isn't it? I don't know. It's a big hole in the ground. Anyway, that's why I grabbed that picture. I just wondered.
Yeah, people probably think it's absolutely crazy, but watching the show at 0.25 speed, slow motion, you pick up a lot of stuff like that. A lot of stuff in the background that they don't expect you to probably notice, that you could learn a lot. And then you add that to the info that the guys usually can provide, like Kaleb just did. It makes this so much more interesting.
Absolutely. Yeah, we covered this right here. This was really, really cool. I love everybody's the gophers. What do we got? A very big rat. Big gophers. Yeah.
Well, they had dino beavers, didn't they?
I like that. Yeah. Gotta kill all the gophers. What show was that from? What movie? Anyway, I digress. Caddyshack. Yes. Looks like a recovery pit for the drill. Oh, you know what? They did drill over there. I remember when they drilled the hole down in the ground, the well over in that area. All right, this was something that Kaleb talked about too a little bit in the pre-show. I can't tell you everything that he said, but he mentioned, Jim said Caddyshack. Yes, indeed. Got to kill all the gophers. So the errors that were popping up, and I wrote down. I wrote down what he said because I thought it was really cool what Eric was saying about this. If I can get to my notes on this portion here. Let's see. Yeah, hung stationary. Let's see. Trying to make a rocket. It was the errors were showing up, and he talked about the fact that they were errors coming in. It was code that was rewriting a code in such a way that it couldn't be deciphered. So it was coming through as an error. And they were talking about the fact that it was like it was they were being hacked. I think that's what Travis had said initially. Yeah. Something was hacking the data and throwing it back rather than the missing data or the corrupted data. these were actually different. Did you catch some of that too?
Yeah,
as well?
coming back in a way that it shouldn't
Yeah.
that it shouldn't come back that way.
Oh, here it is.
Corrupted or missing.
Yeah. Corrupted or missing. Eric said, as if something is inserting characters that cannot be read into the data stream. It's a new form of data corruption we haven't seen before. Something is rewriting portions of the data stream being transmitted from the tracker down to the base station. That is, think about that, folks. Rewriting the data. There's more to come on this. Much more to come on this. Yeah. And that's what Caleb was kind of referring to. There's much more to come on this right here. We got a taste of it last night, but stay tuned. I know, right? I hate to say that, but stay tuned because this is significant. What they showed us here last night. There will be more to come on this, but yeah, something is rewriting portions of the data stream being transmitted from the tracker back down to the ground, to the base station. That's crazy. I can't wait to see this further. And that's when I got the shot of Pete calling Travis on the radio saying, Travis, you need to come over here and check this out. And yeah, and there's Caleb looking at the terrestrial laser scanner. And that's
I was going to ask Caleb, seems like he always gets to carry the slam can and that big, huge backpack with all the batteries in it.
He's a big guy.
Isn't that odd? Yeah.
Caleb, come here. Get your backpack on. I don't have a clue how much that weighs. There's probably batteries and all kinds of stuff on
Yeah,
there.
I'm sure it's not light.
No.
I doubt he notices.
Yeah, he probably didn't notice. To him, it's like a featherweight pack on his back or something. That guy is pretty built. But yeah, he always does. Every time they do one of these now, we see him walking around with that slam scanner on his back and the backpack there sticking out. So gotta when we get him back on, like maybe next week or whenever he has a chance to come back, we'll have to ask him about that because we know we're going to see that some more as we go along. And of course, this was that shot where we see that smoke trail. How does this happen?
That's absolutely crazy. That cannot happen.
No.
Sorry.
No,
just going to have to take
But
that one
yeah.
back. Like I said, it's not driven by GPS. That's actually what it sees. I mean, it's shooting at a laser and getting a reflection, and it got a reflection 10 feet over. And if it had been scattered, you could say, it was noise or something messed it up. But it shows the whole stream of smoke.
Yeah.
10 feet over.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense at all.
It makes no sense. Yeah, I know.
Yep, that makes no dang sense.
It doesn't. And like he said, they were really concentrating, looking at this over here. You can see this line running all the way up along here. They've gotten that before. They've gotten instances like that before. Is that the smoke trail or the communications beam? That's the smoke trail, because the terrestrial laser scanner, as we found out last week, can pick up the smoke because of the particulate in it. There's enough particulate in the smoke for it to pick it up and get a return.
He did say the other LiDAR showed the smoke in the right place.
Yeah. Yes.
That's crazy.
From the other launches?
Yeah. That's crazy.
Why this one? Why was this one off? Oh, I did have a picture of the command center.
Oh, look at that.
And the reason I did was because of the 1.2 gigahertz signal that was then coming back to them. And Eric had made the comment, a ton of activity. Look at all that. All across the 1.2. It wasn't just at 1.2 gigahertz. It was all across the 1.2 spectrum. All this activity was going nuts.
Yeah, I was glad that they showed that that 5.5 gigahertz signal showed up, because Eric has said from the beginning that he sees what we see on the screen right there, that there's anomalous signals at many frequencies, not just 1.6.
Right.
He sees that happen, and I think he said in maybe the after show, it's not really the frequency that it comes from. It's more so the either amplitude modulation or frequency modulation that he finds much more fascinating when he sees that type of behavior, because that's a communication type thing. So it's good that they're finally showing that it does happen on other frequencies. The 1.6 is pretty consistent when they start doing stuff, but now we're seeing it pick other frequencies too, 1.2 or 5.5. But it's good to see what Eric has been saying all along finally get shown.
And the key points on that, the 1.2 never showed up until they started using it first. It always seems to start happening as soon as they begin exercises, and they get it spread across multiple, areas like this here. And I'm going to ask this question to the chat. You know my answer, but I'm going to ask this question to the chat. Do you believe, show of hands, do you believe that the ranch, I'm going to say the ranch because I don't know what else to call it. Do you think the guys are being communicated with? Thank you, Jim Kelgard, right there. Do you think that the ranch or whatever this is trying to communicate with the team? Or is it some sort of let's go with that first. Just show of hands, you guys. Let me know. Yes, there we go. I believe so. Yeah, I just answered that. Yeah, Frank, you did. There we go. I do. I believe that, what did Eric say, that mimicking is the easiest form of communication like that, to mimic something back.
Yep.
By messing with them, somebody said. Now Kat said by messing with them. Yep.
Gets their attention.
Yeah, gets their attention because they're watching for that stuff. Yeah. I don't know. It's crazy to me when they go through this kind of stuff. So, thank you for the answer. Everybody's popping in. Yes. Even the misplaced smoke trail, possible digital manipulation. Absolutely. Yep. They need to test the jawbone for radioactivity. Ooh, maybe they did. I don't know. If the wolf is modern, it would have radioactive particles in it, and if it's from a Stone Age or wherever, the jawbone wouldn't be radioactive. Interesting. I have to ask if they've done that.
Yeah.
Jim Royston. As soon as they're working on this stuff, you see him pointing right there, UAP. And sure enough, there was one. It was right above to the north and west of the tower, up over the mesa. And there is a UAP slowly moving across. And they're watching satellite data, they're watching airplane data. They immediately go look at those things to make sure it is not a satellite or an airplane that they're seeing. They check that every time.
Yep.
And there is Eric. Travis asked Eric to look it up to see if he had a camera on that, and of course he did. And there it is showing up. Now, the one that they had last week, and Eric said, "Boy, I kind of had egg on my face," because he said, "I know we've got a camera that will, at least one that will pick up that one they saw last week, but yet they saw it with the naked eye, but not on any camera."
And you might mention that's the South Tower camera.
Yes.
And this is one of the cameras Eric often has on the YouTube live stream for the Insider program.
Yep. Because there's the guys doing their experiment at the triangle right there.
Yep.
Yeah, right down there in front of the mesa, and you can see that pinpoint coming in. So, just about always get one. All right. Over the last portion at the command center, they're looking at a UAP. This was when they got the 5.5 gigahertz signal. Was it this thing? I don't know, but the timing was good for it. That this particular UAP had shown up when they got to 5.5. I thought that was really very significant. And here's a really cool thing too. And this is the one I said, I wish I had the descent GPR or GPS data, because here's the rocket going up, and look at this thing, folks. I mean, what? And I believe this is the data from Kate, is it not? I
Yep.
believe this is Kate data, not the regular data that they usually have for the GPS. This
Right.
is the Kate data. So Kate data being very well used for around a long time, not a long time, but it's proven GPS data,
Commercially available.
right?
Yeah.
Commercially available tracking data. Thank you, Jim. And look at it. It shows that the rocket came off the pad and went at a 45-degree angle to the south before it went straight up. There it is there. And he was going, this one was a good solid signal, the green one, and then it just got worse as it went. And the red one was, even bad, and then there's missing spots. Travis got up, he walked over and started looking at the data. Here you go again, that 45-degree, then it goes up and you've just got holes in the data. Nothing. I mean, and then it didn't get good until you got way up toward the top. That top circle up there is showing where the data is good data to the top of its. How high did that one go? 5,000 feet. I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if that was the 5,000 or the 1,000. I think it was 5.
Okay.
That looks like it's a long ways up.
Yeah, because this boundary right here is about 32. Well, I think he was putting this was
Yeah.
what the dome, the top of the dome, and then this one here about 30. This one here was about 3,200 feet, and so this would be your 2,000-foot level dome, the top of the bubble, and then your 3,200 feet, and then from up here it was really good when it was way above.
Yep.
And this is where I would assume that the chute deployed and everything up here. Then, so it doesn't matter if you've got state-of-the-art stuff, it's still going to get manipulated at the ranch. Excuse me.
It'll get skinwalkered.
It will get skinwalkered, without a doubt. So this, I agree. I agree, Jim. How can you not be intrigued by all of this?
Any one of these storylines would be intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
But you've got multiple storylines that are just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
The mesa drilling, the wolf jawbone and the DNA, the rocket telemetry, the 2,000-foot radius bubble.
Yeah.
Like Caleb said, that you have to look at the totality of circumstances.
Yep.
And all of this happening in one area.
Yeah.
In northern Utah. There's a ranch.
Yeah. Crazy. Next time on the Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. A couple of things.
Good.
Yay! How many people have been talking about this very experiment right here? What did they call it? A helicite balloon? A helicite balloon. Oh, I liked what one of the guys said. I don't know which guy said it, but one of the guys from Lock Precision said, "Y'all got some weird mojo going on around here." Did you catch that?
Yes, he's not wrong.
Yeah, he's not wrong. Not wrong at all. But yeah, so we get a helicite. This is cool because we've talked about this before. Getting something up rocket type with electronics inside that can stay up for a longer period of time. People have talked about making a building, a 3-story building at the triangle or something like that. Something to get electronics in the air and keep it up there for a longer period of time. So now we're getting this bad boy right here. This is cool. I think this is really, really cool. I'm glad to see this is happening. I don't know how it's spelled. Helicite. He called it a helicite, a balloon. That's really cool. But as things happen, it also shows the helicite coming. Thank you, Pete Jones. And Caleb, always good. Thank you so much. I appreciate that very, very much. Thank you. I forget how far underground he said it was. It was showing some 800 feet. I think he said 800 feet, if I remember correctly. 800
Shouldn't
feet
be underground at all.
It shouldn't be underground at all.
Doesn't matter how far it went down there. It shouldn't be underground at all.
Yeah. Yeah. This is actually, it's not upside down. It's actually showing it underground. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? And then they go back to Dry Gulch Creek. I'm going to say it slowly because I'll mess it up. They go back over to the creek and they're looking for more evidence. And what did you hear them say? Did you catch what they were saying about the creek? Something they found in the creek? It was a dead coyote. And they said something had eaten the dead coyote or the coyote over there.
Yeah. What eats a coyote?
And killed and ate a coyote. Back in that dead gum creek. Yeah, something was eating the coyote. Yeah. I don't know. And then this one here, I can't wait to see about this right here. Jim Royston was trying to launch one of his drones again, probably LiDAR on it or something like that. Good night, Miriam. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you being here. Miriam's, I think she's got a show coming up. She's going to do a podcast with another member of the Skinwalker Ranch team, or did that already happen? I don't remember. No. Okay, I'll leave that alone. All right. Anyway, so Jim was trying to launch his drone, and the drone would not launch because, as you know, or if you don't know, that these drones have it looks for aircraft in the area, and if there's any kind of I don't know where it gets this information, but it says, hey, there's aircraft in the area, you can't launch or bring it down or whatever. It's warning you right away that there's commercial or whatever aircraft in the area. And you have to descend. Well, it wouldn't launch because it said there were aircraft in the area. Problem was there wasn't any aircraft in the area that would be on your tracking, but they did see these. Yeah, the list of predatory animals in Utah that could kill or eat a coyote is very small. Yeah. Thank you, Jim. Oh, it's postponed. Okay. Miriam's is postponed for now. Okay. Sorry about that. I shouldn't have brought it up. So it was seeing, well, we make the assumption, we'll find out more about this next week, but we make the assumption, or I'm making the assumption, that it was seeing these UAPs and saying, hey, I can't launch because there's aircraft in the area. So was the drone seeing these? Pretty crazy.
Saw something.
It saw something. Yeah, I don't know. I go back to what Jim was saying. Jim Kelgard was saying just a bit ago, that if you again, I go back to the bubble. There has been, and we've talked about this already a couple of times, but there's been so much data to show, and repeatable data, and different types of equipment picking up the data to say this dome, this bubble is there. Is it always there? Don't know. Is it static or dynamic? Don't know. There's so much about this we don't know, but it is there. There's something there. And the guys are getting closer and closer to being able to detect it on a regular basis and know and find out. And when we get to the point of finding out exactly what it is, That will be. I love that part though, as if something's trying to throw off direct targeting. I hadn't really looked at it like that before. Trying to hide it's trying to hide direct targeting or to mask direct targeting, and so as Thomas said, it would mean that there's something there worth protecting.
Yep. Yeah. Is the bubble trying to keep something out or keep something in?
Oh, please
Seems
tell me
like-
when you find out.
Yeah. Right.
Eric. I'm waiting for you to tell us. But again, a crazy episode, and more to come. What do you think? I mean,
I think they're, like I said before, they're feels like they're starting to finally box the ranch in a little bit.
mhm.
And it's years now of just weird, crazy stuff happening.
Mhm.
And it's the scientific process. You collect data, collect data, collect data, collect data. Then you look for trends in the data. You come up with a hypothesis, and you check the hypothesis by throwing the data at it.
Mhm.
And this boundary theory or hypothesis, a lot of data is sticking to that. And so now we're on to something. Now it feels like the dog's finally gotten a bone,
Yeah.
and it's got something to go after.
Mhm.
And that's usually the beginning of the end, is once you get a line, a track to follow, and get a line on something like this boundary,
Mhm.
that you can prove is repeatable for the most part. Of course, it would be easy if it was there all the time. So it's,
Yeah.
of course, it's going to be transient to some extent. It's not always there, but it's there enough that they've gotten enough data to show that it's disruptive in that 2,000-foot range.
Yep.
And they just keep chipping away, you know.
They're going to figure this out at some point. They're going to figure this out.
I think so.
Yep. And I
I
can't
think
wait
so.
for that day to come. We may not like the answer we get. It still could be something that has nothing to do with an entity or anything like that.
Yep.
It could be just materials in the ground, or
Yep.
I don't know.
Could be completely prosaic.
Yeah, absolutely. But I do feel that this team will figure it out at some point. But boy, are we on a ride, aren't we? During this process, watching this process take place. And I don't think that anybody that actually spends the time watching this show, and in more than just watching it, but really trying to ride along with the investigation, cannot walk away from this and say that it's all BS. I don't see you have such a closed mind, and you will not accept the possibility of something like this to be taking place, because you will not actually see the data that's coming in from all of this. I can't. I actually pity people that are going to sit here and say there's nothing there. It's all BS. There's nothing there, because you are missing out on something extraordinary.
Yep.
And I can't wait to see what it comes to. Each week I'm so excited about every season, every week. The
Yes.
mystery is very addicting.
It's
Yes,
addicting.
it is. Yes, it is, B. Jones. You're absolutely right. It truly is. And I just think, how fortunate are we, Mike, to be able to sit here and with Shannon occasionally joining us, and Seth joining us, and all of the folks in the chat here. How lucky are we at this point in time to be able to be on this ride and watch this taking place? I wish we didn't have to wait a year, and I know they say the same thing. They wish they didn't have to wait a year to talk about it, because they're getting ready to start filming here sometime this summer, getting ready to film season 7. We assume there's going to be a season 7. We don't know that for a fact. But boy, if they give up now, well, the team won't give up. The show might cancel. I can't imagine that happening, but I don't think that Brandon and Eric and Travis and the team, all of them, Caleb and Thomas and everybody, I don't think they're going to give up on this ever.
Nope.
Until they get some answers. And I think we are so fortunate to be along for the ride. So that's what I got for you here, folks, tonight. I tell you, I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to the shirt I'm wearing to go to this Phenomicon this year, coming up here in September, the first week of September after the Memorial Day. That's when it takes place. It's going to be a great one. Again, if you haven't been to Phenomicon, you should check it out. At least come one day. The team is there. You'll see Eric walking around, Thomas walking around in his hat. You can't miss it. You'll probably get a chance to see Jim Kelgard and Mr. Nyberger up on stage, maybe playing some music again this year. Is it possible? Yeah. With the rest of the team, Phenomicon is phenomenal. Yes, it is. And I've been to the last three, and I tell you what, I wouldn't miss it for the world. It's great stuff and good information, and just listening to the guys and meeting the guys and hearing everything. It's awesome stuff. I can neither confirm nor deny that rumor. I will, B. Jones, I will film as much of it as I possibly am allowed to. That's all I can say. I wish I could film and go live and show you all of the presentations, but that is not allowed. As much as I would love to. You have to buy a ticket and go. But it's a great time. It really is. And the people there, you're rubbing elbows with like-minded folks. I will do my very, very best to cover as much of it as I can this year, like I have in the past. But it is a lot of fun, and it's a lot of information. Mike, I don't know. Are you going to get a chance, you think, this year?
I have never been to Phenomicon, and this year is the year.
Oh,
we're going.
You're going.
Got tickets. We've got a campground spot. We're gonna go.
Awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. It is such a good time. And I tell you, not only going to all the presentations and all that kind of stuff, but yes, exactly. To rub minds with elbow, with like elbowed folks. That's really good. That's good, Eric. I like that. But you're right. You're exactly right. I get a chance to go and meet, the folks that have watched the podcast, but more importantly, love this show. And that is to me, that's one of the best parts about this, is going to meet all these people, all of you that come there and to see the presentations and go through this. And it's really, really cool. And if you ever get to go to any of the meet and greets, or the breakfast with, or the lunch with, or the dinners with, you got to do those at least once. Yes, there will be tacos and hitchhiker. Yeah. The taco truck outside. Yes, it was so good. Oh, anyway. All right. I digress, but it is a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to seeing you there, Mike. All right. Yep. And you said we, so I get to meet more of the family, maybe, I guess. All right.
I can neither confirm or deny.
Insider family. Jim, are you going to do that again this year? At the first night there, you're going to have a little get together. We usually have an insider meet and greet dinner. What are the dates? Oh, geez. You caught me off guard. It's a Thursday, Friday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yes, sir. Good. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of September, right after the Memorial Day. So looks like the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, I think is what it is this year. Yep. Yeah, Wednesday through Saturday after Labor Day. Exactly. It's a great time. Even if you can only go to one day, it's a great time. You got to check it out. All right, that's it for us, folks. Thank you guys very, very much for joining us here. We appreciate it. And as I mentioned early on, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. And those of you who have done a donation tonight, or a super chat or anything like that, thank you so very much. It really, really helps to keep this going. We love doing it, but it does have a cost to it, unfortunately. And I appreciate each and every one of you, and the patrons that I have on Patreon. jawbone.com. Thank you so very much. It's really I couldn't do it otherwise. I really couldn't. So thank you. Mike, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. Linda, as always, thank you very much. And for us here, we'll say goodnight and catch you next time right here on the Freeman Files of the J Free 906 podcast. Good night, everyone.